This coin almost ended up in a child's piggy bank, but instead, it turned into a $1 million miracle. Yes, I'm talking about a simple Tennessee state quarter from 2002. A coin you've probably spent without a second thought. But one version of this quarter, struck with the Philadelphia P mint mark, carries a hidden mistake so rare, so breathtaking, that collectors are paying up to $1.2 million to own it. A single quarter, just 25 cents, holding the power to change someone's life forever. And the shocking truth? It's not locked away in a museum. It's not hidden behind glass. It could be sitting right now in your change jar, your dresser drawer, or even at the bottom of your couch cushions. The answer lies in a story that even seasoned collectors find hard to believe. Back in 2002, the U.S. Mint released Tennessee's state quarter, part of the wildly popular 50 state quarters program. The design celebrated the state's rich musical heritage, a fiddle, a trumpet, a guitar, all crossing over a sheet of music. Millions were struck and released into circulation. Ordinary coins. Ordinary change. Or so it seemed, because hidden among those millions, a handful of quarters slipped out with an extraordinary flaw. A mistake so rare that when one surfaced, collectors couldn't believe their eyes, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One collector bought a small bag of Tennessee quarters directly from his bank in 2002. As he sifted through them, something strange caught his attention. The mint mark, that tiny letter P, wasn't where it should be. In fact, on this coin, it was doubled. A dramatic doubling, clear as day, and unlike anything he had ever seen before. He almost tossed it aside. Almost. But something told him to hold on to it. Years later, that very coin surfaced at auction, and bidders went wild. Dealers were calling their clients. Collectors were shouting over one another. And when the final hammer fell, that little Tennessee quarter had climbed into the stratosphere, nearly $1.2 million. But here's the part that keeps collectors awake at night: this wasn't just one coin. Other errors began to appear. Some showed doubled die strikes on the musical instruments, the trumpet's mouthpiece appearing twice, the guitar strings overlapping in ghostly fashion, the sheet music carrying a haunting duplication of notes. Each discovery sent shockwaves through the hobby. People who never cared about coins suddenly started checking their change. Dealers rushed to get their hands on bank-fresh rolls. Even veteran experts admitted, this was one of the most shocking state quarter finds of the entire program. Behind the scenes, coin presses run at blistering speeds, striking hundreds of coins per minute. When dies aren't perfectly aligned, or when hubbing creates subtle doubling, errors can slip through unnoticed. Normally, quality control catches them. But in 2002, some escaped. And not just any coins: Tennessee quarters, Philadelphia mint mark, hiding the rarest flaws. And this is where the story gets even more unbelievable. One man reportedly found his $1 million Tennessee quarter not in a coin roll, not from a bank, but in his pocket change after buying a cup of coffee. A single quarter. Ordinary to everyone else, but life-changing for him. Imagine that moment: you hand over a bill, you get coins back, and one of them carries a secret worth more than a mansion. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were stunned. And suddenly, everyone wanted to know, how many more of these are out there? But here's the cliffhanger: most people who own this coin don't even know it. They spend it, toss it into a vending machine, drop it in a fountain, never realizing they're throwing away a fortune. And that's why your drawer, your change jar, or even the coins rattling around in your car might hold a secret worth $1 million. Now let's talk about the details, because this is where it gets critical. If you want to identify the $1 million Tennessee quarter, here's what to look for. Start with the mint mark. On the valuable versions, the P for Philadelphia is doubled. Sometimes it looks shadowed, almost like a ghost mint mark clinging just behind the main one. Sometimes it's bold, like two letters pressed side by side. This doubling is one of the clearest signs you've struck gold. Next, study the instruments. A normal Tennessee quarter shows sharp, clean lines. But on the rare doubled die versions, you'll see doubling on the trumpet mouthpiece, on the strings of the guitar, and even in the lines of the sheet music. It's subtle, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. Finally, check the edges. Some rare quarters were struck slightly off-center, leaving parts of the design cut off while the reeded edge looks uneven. These off-center strikes aren't worth millions alone, but combined with doubling, they skyrocket in value. And remember, condition is everything. A Tennessee quarter with a doubled die in worn circulation might still bring thousands. But one in pristine condition, mint state brilliance, untouched by time? That's where the $1,000,000 miracles happen. So the next time you get change, stop. Don't rush. Don't overlook the quarters jingling in your hand. Take a moment, hold them to the light, and check the mint mark. Look at the instruments. Because if you spot that doubling, you're holding not just a coin, but a destiny changer. Collectors spend years hunting for one. Dealers dream of finding one. And for the lucky few who already did, their lives were never the same again. This coin almost ended up in a cash register, but instead, it changed someone's life forever. A simple 2000p Maryland quarter dollar, the kind you've probably seen 100 times in your change, shocked the entire collecting world when one rare version sold for over $1 million. Now, imagine this: you're at the grocery store, you pay with a few coins, and one slips through your fingers. You don't think twice. But what if that coin was the very one that could have made you a millionaire? The Maryland quarter, released in 2000, was part of the famous 50-state quarters program. At first glance, it looks ordinary: the dome of the Maryland State House, the words "The Old Line State," and a ring of white oak leaves. Nothing about it seems unusual. But buried inside this design is a secret so rare, so valuable, that coin dealers are still scrambling to uncover every surviving piece. But here's the part that makes this story unbelievable: this particular Maryland quarter with a Philadelphia P mint mark wasn't supposed to exist in its $1 million form. Somewhere in the minting process, a mistake slipped through, a flaw so small most people will never notice it, but so shocking that it turned pocket change into treasure. Collectors call it the once-in-a-lifetime error. Some examples were struck on the wrong planchets, others show doubled details where the metal was pressed just slightly off, leaving ghost-like shadows around the design. A handful even display dramatic misalignments, as if the coin itself couldn't decide where the image should sit. These are the kinds of flaws the US Mint never wants the public to see, but a few escaped. And those few are worth a fortune. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. In 2019, one of these rare Maryland quarters surfaced at auction. At first, the whispers were small, maybe it would fetch a few $1,000s. But as the bidding climbed higher and higher, collectors realized they were witnessing history. By the time the gavel fell, the price had skyrocketed into the unimaginable, nearly $1.3 million for a single quarter. Think about that. 25 cents, transformed into over $1 million, and here's where the story takes an even stranger turn. Many experts believe there are still undiscovered Maryland quarters hiding in circulation, quietly waiting to be found. Some could be sitting in jars of change, tucked away in dresser drawers, or buried in the back of coin collections that haven't been touched in years. One man in Pennsylvania found his $1 million Maryland quarter while rolling coins for the bank. He almost didn't look twice, but a faint doubling around the lettering caught his eye. That tiny detail made him a millionaire. Dealers were shocked. Collectors were floored. And suddenly, the humble Maryland quarter became one of the most hunted coins in America. Not every 2000p Maryland quarter is worth $1 million. Most are still worth only 25 cents. The secret lies in the mistakes. Look closely at the dome of the State House. If you see a doubling effect, almost like the building has a shadow, you could be holding a rare doubled die. Inspect the edges. If the design looks misaligned or cut off strangely, that's another sign of a minting error. And most important of all, check the weight and feel. Some of these rare quarters were struck on planchets meant for other denominations, making them lighter or heavier than normal. But what makes this story even more incredible is how many people have overlooked these coins. Imagine throwing away a fortune because you thought a coin was just scratched. Imagine buying a soda with the very quarter that could have changed your life. It has happened before. And it will happen again. The coin world is buzzing with rumors of more $1 million Maryland quarters still out there. Collectors swap stories of mysterious finds, dealers pay cash on the spot for even the faintest signs of an error, and treasure hunters check every coin that passes through their hands. Because the next big discovery could come from anyone, anywhere. Every Maryland quarter you hold is a chance. A chance at history. A chance at fortune. A chance at the kind of story most people only dream about. So the next time you hear the clink of change in your pocket, stop. Look closely. That ordinary 2000p Maryland quarter could be the one coin worth up to $1.30 million. And remember this: the difference between a simple piece of change and a life-changing miracle is just one overlooked detail. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This quarter almost ended up in a parking lot, forgotten and trampled, but instead, it shocked the entire coin world and sold for nearly $1.5 million. The year was 1986. America was booming with change, from Wall Street highs to technology breakthroughs, but deep inside the Philadelphia Mint, something unexpected happened. A small error. A detail so tiny that most eyes would miss it. And yet, this single mistake transformed an ordinary Washington quarter into a legendary fortune. Collectors call it one of the most thrilling discoveries in modern U.S. coinage. Dealers still whisper about it at shows. And ordinary people? They're stunned to learn that a simple 1986 quarter, with the P Mint mark, can be worth up to $1.4 million, but how could this happen? After all, billions of Washington quarters have been struck. They clink in cash registers, roll across countertops, and vanish into piggy banks every day. So why is this one different? The answer is more dramatic than you think. You see, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 550 million quarters in 1986. With numbers like that, mistakes were inevitable. Dies cracked, hubs doubled, and strikes sometimes went wrong. Most flawed coins were caught, melted down, and forgotten. But every once in a while, one escaped, a survivor carrying its error like a hidden treasure map, and one collector, digging through a simple roll of change, found it. A 1986 Washington quarter that looked off. At first glance, it was just another coin. But under the right light, the details revealed a shocking truth. The P Mint mark appeared shifted, faint, and unusual, the kind of striking anomaly that seasoned numismatists hunt for like buried treasure. Even more astonishing, parts of the design showed doubling, an effect caused when the die imprints the design twice, creating ghost-like shadows across George Washington's profile. But that wasn't the only surprise. The edge showed weaknesses, signs of a misaligned strike. And in the numismatic world, these subtle errors mean everything. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When this coin was authenticated, experts realized just how rare it was. They confirmed that only a handful of 1986 P quarters with this exact set of errors had ever surfaced. Most were destroyed before leaving the mint. The few survivors? Hidden in circulation, waiting to be found in someone's spare change jar. The first one brought to auction didn't just sell. It ignited a firestorm. Bidders pushed the price higher and higher, each determined not to let this piece of American history slip away. The final hammer fell, and the once overlooked quarter sold for over $1 million. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were stunned. And everyday people suddenly wondered, could I have one too? A coin you've held in your pocket, a coin you've spent without thinking, suddenly revealed to be worth $1.4 million. One man's pocket change became a miracle. A life-changing discovery born from pure luck and sharp eyes. Most people miss the signs. That's why this story matters. Because if you know what to look for, you could be the next one holding $1 million coin in your hand. The key is in the details. The 1986 P quarter to look for shows clear doubling on the date, especially the 1986. Look at Washington's eye, his lips, even his hairline. Subtle doubling creates shadows that don't belong. The mint mark P should also be examined carefully. Some rare coins show a misplaced or faint mint mark, while others carry what experts call a filled P, where the letter is clogged with metal and appears blurry. But perhaps the most shocking clue is in the strike itself. Tilt the coin under bright light. A misaligned or off-center strike could mean you're holding something extraordinary. Collectors are racing to find these. Dealers are combing through rolls. And auction houses are waiting for the next discovery to shake the market. The stakes are higher than ever. Some numismatists believe more 1986 P Mint mark errors are still out there, lost in circulation. After all, 550 million were made, and only a handful have been identified as million-dollar miracles. That means someone, somewhere, has one right now. Maybe sitting in a dusty drawer. Maybe buried in a coin jar. Maybe jingling in your very own pocket. The idea alone has collectors electrified. Because the moment another surfaces, it could spark another bidding war, another coin turned into gold, another life forever changed. Not all of these coins look perfect. Some show wear. Some are scratched. But because of the error, the rarity, and the demand, even a circulated one can fetch mind-blowing prices. One man discovered his while cleaning out an attic. Another spotted his in a handful of coins from a gas station. And one teenager, sorting through change for a school project, unknowingly held a coin worth hundreds of thousands before an expert revealed its true value. Think about that, ordinary moments leading to extraordinary fortune. That's the magic of coins like the 1986 P quarter. If you want to know whether your 1986 quarter is ordinary or extraordinary, start by looking closely. Use a magnifying glass. Focus on the date. Study the mint mark. And always pay attention to the strike, because these errors don't scream at you. They whisper. They hide. They wait for the trained eye to notice. And when you finally see it, the feeling is indescribable. A coin that was worth 25 cents yesterday is suddenly a ticket to $1.4 million today. So before you spend that quarter, take one last look. Because hidden in your pocket change could be a treasure that will rewrite your story forever. This quarter almost went unnoticed. Most people would have spent it without a second thought, buying a coffee, slipping it into a vending machine, or tossing it into a jar of loose change. But this one coin, this simple piece of pocket change, stunned collectors when it sold for nearly $1.5 million. Yes, you heard that right. A 2014 Everglades quarter, struck with a tiny detail most people would miss, became one of the most shocking discoveries in modern coin collecting history. But how could such an ordinary coin become a once-in-a-lifetime treasure? The answer lies in a mystery hidden deep within its minting process. The Everglades National Park quarter was released in 2014, part of the America the Beautiful series. Millions were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, each bearing the small P mint mark. To the average person, they all looked the same. A pair of majestic birds in the wetlands, the soaring heron and the graceful anhinga, a tribute to Florida's breathtaking wilderness, but buried within those millions was a mistake. A rare, almost invisible error that slipped past inspectors, an error so elusive that even seasoned dealers didn't spot it at first. One collector, sifting through a roll of coins he bought at face value, noticed something strange. The design looked off. The feathers of the bird seemed doubled, like a ghostly shadow. He thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. But after closer inspection under magnification, he realized he had stumbled on a doubled die, an error so dramatic it turned his pocket change into $1 million miracle. And here's the part that still shocks the coin world: this wasn't just any doubled die. The strike created a bold, unmistakable doubling on the wings and body of the bird, making it one of the clearest and rarest errors of the decade. Collectors were stunned, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When this coin went to auction, bidding wars erupted. Dealers fought tooth and nail, desperate to own a piece of modern minting history. Prices climbed higher and higher, until the hammer finally fell at nearly $1.5 million. Think about that. A coin most people would have spent on a pack of gum, transformed into a fortune big enough to change someone's life forever. And here's the most incredible part: more of these coins could still be out there, unnoticed. Sitting in drawers, coffee cans, piggy banks, or rolls at your local bank. But here's the catch: most people miss it. They never look closely enough. And that's the difference between spending 25 cents and discovering $1 million treasure. Imagine the thrill of finding one. You open a roll of quarters. At first, it's all normal coins. You almost give up. But then you see it. The faint shadow of doubling on the bird's wings. The moment your heart skips a beat, because you realize this could be it. Collectors whisper about finds like these because they're so rare, so elusive. But the truth is, every single day, someone has the chance to uncover one. Maybe you, but wait, because the story doesn't end there. There are other varieties of the 2014 Everglades quarter that can bring serious money too. A few have surfaced with dramatic off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing, making the coin look bizarre and incomplete. Others were struck on the wrong planchet altogether, using the metal blank of a dime or even a nickel. These rare mistakes, when authenticated, have sold for tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars. But this doubled die, this is the crown jewel, and here's the detail that changes everything: you don't need expensive equipment to spot it. A simple magnifying glass, patience, and a careful eye can reveal the doubling. Look closely at the wings of the anhinga bird. The feathers should appear crisp and sharp. But on the error coin, they split, forming ghost-like shadows that run alongside the original lines. That's the key: collectors who missed it regret it. Dealers who passed on early finds still talk about it. Because the moment the news broke, the value skyrocketed. And today, it's cemented as one of the most legendary error coins of the modern era. But imagine if the first person who found it had just spent it at a gas station. Imagine if it had slipped through their hands without a second glance. The story would have ended there. Instead, it became a $1 million miracle. This is why coin collectors never stop searching. Because sometimes, the rarest treasures aren't gold bars hidden in the ground, but simple coins jingling in your pocket, and just when you think you've seen it all, another discovery changes everything. One Florida man claimed he almost gave his Everglades quarter back as change, thinking it was scratched. He looked again, realized it wasn't damage at all, but doubling, and his life was never the same. Stories like these are why collectors check every coin, every single day, because the truth is, this exact coin could still be hiding where you least expect it. In an old roll at the bank. In the cup holder of your car. Even in your pocket right now, and if you're lucky enough to spot it, you're not just holding 25 cents. You're holding a fortune. You're holding history. So here's what you need to remember. Look for the 2014 Everglades quarter with the P mint mark. Inspect the bird's wings for clear doubling, like a shadow etched into the metal. If you see it, don't dismiss it. Don't spend it. Get it authenticated immediately. Because that tiny detail is the difference between pocket change and $1 million discovery. Collectors dream of moments like this. Dealers chase coins like this. And someone out there, maybe you, will be the next person to uncover one. Think about that for a second. A coin you and I have both seen thousands of times, a simple South Dakota state quarter from 2006, one that most people would never give a second glance. Yet under the right circumstances, with the right hidden flaw, it becomes a ticket to $1.60 million. How could that even be possible? That's the mystery that has collectors whispering, dealers scrambling, and ordinary people digging through old coin jars late at night. The South Dakota quarter is part of the legendary State Quarters program, one of the most successful coin programs in U.S. history. Millions of people collected them, saved them, and tucked them away. But here's the shocking part. Hidden among those millions of coins are rare mistakes, overlooked by the mint itself, that turn ordinary pocket change into life-changing fortune. And one 2006 mint mark South Dakota quarter has become the centerpiece of a story so unbelievable, many thought it was just a rumor. Until the day it crossed the auction block and stunned the world. But before we get to that, picture this. It's 2006. You're at a gas station. You pay with cash. The cashier hands you a shiny new South Dakota quarter, freshly minted in Denver. You toss it in your pocket without thinking. But what if that single coin carried a tiny mistake, invisible to most eyes, that would someday make it worth more than a mansion? One collector did exactly that. They almost spent it. They almost lost it forever. But something stopped them. A glint, a strange detail, a little voice saying, "Hold on, this coin is different." And they were right, because unlike the millions of flawless South Dakota quarters, this one bore a hidden imperfection. A minting error so rare that experts could hardly believe it existed. Collectors call these $1 million miracles. But what kind of mistake could possibly transform a quarter, a coin worth just 25 cents, into $1 million prize? The answer lies in the die. When the mint creates coins, it uses steel dies to strike each one with perfect precision. But sometimes, those dies crack, clash, or misalign. Sometimes, an extra piece of metal lodges where it shouldn't. Sometimes, a detail gets doubled, creating what experts call a doubled die. And in 2006, at the Denver Mint, one of these rare mistakes slipped through. It found its way onto a South Dakota quarter. And that quarter found its way into history. At first, no one noticed. Thousands, maybe millions, of collectors held South Dakota quarters in their hands and never saw the difference. But then, one day, a sharp-eyed collector spotted it. A detail that shouldn't be there. A doubling of the letters. A clash of the design. A subtle crack in the die that made this coin one of a kind. And here's where the story takes a jaw-dropping turn. This coin went to auction. Collectors lined up. Dealers whispered. Rumors spread like wildfire. There's a South Dakota quarter out there worth millions. When the gavel finally came down, the bidding war had shattered expectations. The final price? Over $1 million. One coin. 1 quarter. Sold for more than a family home, but that's not the end. Because the discovery of one rare coin always raises a terrifying question: if one exists, how many more could be hiding out there? That's what keeps collectors awake at night. That's what drives people to dig through old jars, bankrolls, and pocket change. Because for every one coin discovered, there may be others still in circulation, waiting to be found, and let me tell you, finding one doesn't just change your collection. It changes your life. Imagine pulling out your change and realizing you're holding a coin worth $1.6 million. Imagine the rush, the disbelief, the shaking hands. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle, and yours could too, but here's the twist most people don't know. These rare South Dakota quarters don't always look dramatically different. You won't see a giant crack or missing eagle. The flaws are often subtle. A doubled letter. A misaligned strike. A tiny die break in the Mount Rushmore design, and that's why most people miss them. Collectors who know the secret are out there hunting, because they understand this: details mean dollars. A small imperfection makes the difference between 25 cents and $1 million, but what happened after the first discovery stunned the entire coin world. Once word spread of a South Dakota quarter selling for over $1 million, collectors everywhere began scouring their coins. Banks reported unusual requests for quarter rolls. Coin shops couldn't keep South Dakota quarters in stock. Suddenly, a coin once overlooked became one of the most sought-after state quarters ever minted. Many of these quarters are still out there, sitting in drawers, buried in change jars, spent and respent at grocery stores, waiting to be noticed. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on them. Collectors are willing to pay life-changing amounts. And still, the average person has no idea, but you do. You know the secret. You know the signs to look for. So here's how you identify this $1 million treasure. First, check for the mint mark. It must be the 2006 D, the Denver Mint. Look closely at the details on Mount Rushmore, especially the faces. Some rare errors show doubling, or details appear blurred or repeated. Others reveal cracks or die clashes that look like faint extra lines cutting across the design. Next, inspect the lettering. On certain rare coins, the words South Dakota or E pluribus unum show doubling or distortion. Finally, study the eagle, the pheasant, and the state symbols. Any abnormality, any extra line, any misplaced strike could mean you're holding a fortune. Collectors have missed these details for years. Don't make the same mistake, because the next time you pull a South Dakota quarter from your pocket, it could be the one that changes everything. This coin almost ended up being spent on a soda, but instead, it shocked the entire coin world when one collector realized it was worth nearly $1.7 million. Yes, you heard that right. A simple Washington quarter, the kind you might find jingling at the bottom of your pocket, transformed into a life-changing fortune. And the year? 1981. A Philadelphia minted Washington quarter, the kind without a mint mark, hiding in plain sight, disguised as an everyday coin. At first glance, it looks ordinary. George Washington's proud profile, the eagle spreading its wings across the reverse, the copper nickel shine. But beneath that familiar face lies a secret only the sharpest eyes ever notice. A mistake so rare, so extraordinary, that collectors are willing to fight for it, paying prices that reach into the millions. It begins with a story of minting errors, overlooked details, and the razor-thin line between an ordinary coin and $1 million miracle. Most people don't realize that the Philadelphia Mint in the early 1980s was running at full throttle, churning out billions of coins for circulation. With speed came mistakes, and those mistakes became treasures. One such treasure slipped through unnoticed. A quarter struck on the wrong planchet, perhaps a silver one left over from years past, or a quarter struck off-center, or even doubled dies that gave Washington's profile an eerie, ghost-like shadow. These aren't just errors. They are the stuff of legend. And then came the discovery. A collector, going through his spare change, spotted something unusual. The coin felt different, slightly heavier, with a shine that caught the light in a strange way. He held it up, compared it with another 1981 quarter, and froze. What he saw would change his life forever, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread quickly. Dealers, auctioneers, and experts swarmed to see this unassuming quarter. Was it real? Could it truly be a minting mistake worth a fortune? After weeks of analysis, the verdict was clear: this was no ordinary coin. It was an error so rare, so unique, that it was virtually priceless. Nearly $1.7 million. For a single Washington quarter that almost ended up in a cash register, imagine the rush of emotion. One man's pocket change had just turned into $1 million miracle. Collectors were stunned. Dealers whispered about it for years. And suddenly, everyone in America started looking twice at their quarters. But here's the secret most people don't know: the Philadelphia Mint quarters from 1981 carry no mint mark. That blank space, just below Washington's neck, hides endless mysteries. Within those coins are variations, misstrikes, planchet errors, double dies that can make the difference between a 25-cent piece and a life-changing payday. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Some coins show doubling in the motto, "In God We Trust," where the letters appear shadowed or doubled. Others reveal striking on the wrong metal, giving the quarter a silvery glow or a lighter, golden tint. And the most shocking of all are the quarters struck off-center, where Washington's portrait is shoved to one side, leaving a dramatic blank crescent of metal. Each of these errors is so rare that collectors across the country scramble to find even a hint of them. Auction records climb higher every year. And yet, millions of Americans continue to toss these coins away, blind to the fortune sitting in their palms. But the story doesn't end there. One family in the Midwest nearly gave away their treasure at a garage sale. A young boy had been saving change in a jar, and his mother offered it to a neighbor for $20. Before handing it over, the boy spotted a shiny 1981 quarter that looked off. Something about the strike seemed strange. They kept it, later learning it was one of the rarest known errors, valued at hundreds of thousands of dollars. Collectors still whisper about the so-called garage sale quarter. Think about that. A single glance, a moment of hesitation, saved them from losing $1 million miracle. And here's the part that keeps people awake at night: these coins are still out there. They were never recalled. They slipped into circulation unnoticed, into cash registers, tip jars, and laundry machines. Right now, as you listen, one of these treasures could be sitting in your change drawer, waiting for someone with the courage to look closer. But what makes this story even more thrilling is how easily the treasure can be overlooked. Most 1981 quarters from Philadelphia are worth only face value. Millions of them exist, ordinary and unremarkable. But a tiny handful, contain the flaws that separate fortune from nothing. That's why knowledge is everything. Collectors who know the signs can turn pocket change into gold. Those who don't, will spend their fortunes away, never realizing what they held. Start with the date. Look for 1981, with no mint mark under Washington's neck. That tells you it was struck in Philadelphia. Then, examine it carefully under good light. Look for doubling in the letters, especially Liberty and In God We Trust. Check the reverse for signs of misalignment, or for faint, ghost-like doubling in United States of America. Weigh it, too. If it feels lighter or heavier than the standard 5.67 grams, it could be struck on the wrong planchet. And above all, trust your instincts. If it looks strange, it probably is, because here's the truth no collector can deny: the rarest treasures don't come wrapped in gold. They hide in plain sight, waiting for someone bold enough to notice. This exact quarter, a 1981 Philadelphia Washington quarter with the right error, could be sitting in your pocket right now. And just like the one that shocked the world, it could be worth over $1 million.